Hi, my name is Riley Allen. This is my review of Star Wars The Clone Wars, the 2008 movie. This was released in anticipation of the release of the show. And this is not so much a movie, more as I'm pretty sure this is just like one arc from the Clone Wars were gonna release, but decided to condense it into a movie. Because I feel like at several moments in this movie, there are natural little stopping points where I think would be where the episode ends, but the story continues, because that's how the Clone Wars usually worked. They'd have an episode end, but the story would continue for a couple, at least an arc. They'd have arcs. So we start off with, the news that Jabba's son has been kidnapped. Oh no, a Hutt's been kidnapped. So sad. And they decide that they need to send Obi-Wan and Anakin, the Dream Team. I don't know if they'd be the Dream Team just at this point in the war, but you know. Anyway, there's pinned down, and they're hoping for reinforcements, but when the reinforcements arrive, it's not reinforcements, it's just a Padawan learner named Ahsoka. And she says she's assigned to Anakin. And I think it's all but confirmed that this was a plan by Obi-Wan and Yoda. I don't understand what the point of this was. I mean, I know it's supposed to teach, like, Anakin maybe maturity, so to say. But at the end of the day, he's at this point, only 19 or 20? And Ahsoka's like 13, 14? I mean, at least Anakin and Obi-Wan had a good, I think, like 16-year age difference. So they could have like a good little mentor relationship. This is more like a brother-sister relationship. And I guess that's kind of... And I feel like at the same time, it helps Anakin and Ahsoka's relationship, because instead of like, you know, the I'm wiser than you, it's like, yeah, I was literally just there like 2 weeks ago, dude. We're cool, you know, like... And Anakin doesn't really take himself so seriously, so to say. And I feel like that works well with him and Ahsoka, as they call each other Snips and Sky Guy. Also, so during the battle, Obi-Wan feigns capture so Anakin and Ahsoka can destroy the shields. And I don't know if that's a war crime in real life, but considering that in Star Wars there's no Geneva Conventions, I feel like Obi-Wan and Anakin, or at least Obi-Wan and Anakin, would be like the Canadians. They'd be like, the Geneva checklist just added a new one. Gotta check them all. Or at this point, would they be like the Kenobi Skywalker Convention? Or they're just reading out the shit that they've done and be like, don't do that. And looking at everybody else being like, don't do that. Don't do that. You're not supposed to do that. Don't do that. Anyway, they managed to destroy it. And Anakin kind of, you know, gains a little respect for Ahsoka. And at the end he says, you wouldn't have made it as Obi-Wan, Padawan. You wouldn't have made it as Obi-Wan's Padawan, but you might just make it as mine. And I interpret this as Anakin's basically making a self-reflection. He looks at Ahsoka's kind of brightness, and he believes that maybe it would be stifled under Obi-Wan, whether it's true or not. Maybe he believes that about himself. Maybe something was stifled under the expectations of Obi-Wan's teaching, and he doesn't want to stifle that, or, you know, snuff out that same spirit and whatever from Ahsoka. Whether that's true or not, and it's just Anakin basically projecting, I feel like really... Now, this this is just me in my thoughts, but that's kind of what I thought it was when I heard that. So he accepts Ahsoka as his Padawan, and they're now tasked with going to, I think the planet was Teth, or at least it was a planet in something called the Teth system. Teth. Teth, I think, would be spelled. To rescue Rhoda, the little Huttlet. Well, Obi-Wan's sent to negotiate with Jabba. His has complications because Dooku swoops in and he's also here. Well, at the same time, while he's there, Dooku is at Jabba's with Obi-Wan. Dooku's apprentice, Asajj Ventress, is basically framing Anakin, who has rescued Rhoda, as like them being the Jedi being the one who captured Rhoda. And also, side note to the Jedi, why are you sending the one dude you have that was a slave to the Hutts? This isn't... I feel like Anakin doesn't get enough credit for actually doing this mission. I mean, yes, Rhoda is innocent, but like... all they're doing is basically throwing... It's not as if they're rescuing innocent and bringing it to a new life, you know, to raise it new more... They're throwing it right back into the same system that made Jabba, Gardula, I think it was, Zero. They're just the same system. So for all he knows, he's just made a new Hutt crime lord that's going to come up in a few hundred years. But he still did the mission, because at this point in time, Rhoda's innocent. You know, that was his orders. I don't think I'd have done it. Me personally, me being owned by a Hutt, I don't think I would rescue the son of someone who I think is even more notorious in the Hutt world and also very much still owns a crap ton of slaves. I wouldn't do it. Anyways, things go sideways at the monastery, which they rescue Rhoda from. Ventress attacks. They manage to basically fend her off. They call for backup from Obi-Wan, and he's kind of on his way. I do love this one scene. Captain Rex, he's our main clone guy for Anakin's squadron. Anakin is a general, and Ahsoka would now be a commander. Side note, none of these ranks make sense to me. Because, as like an American, a commander is a rank in the U.S. Navy, while general is a rank for the U.S. Army, Marine, Air Force, and Space Force. Well, commander is a rank for the U.S. Coast Guard and Navy. Well, captain can be a rank in all the branches of the U.S. military. I do not think they're on the same scale. I don't think they mean the same rank. I could be wrong, though. I know there's captains in the Navy and Coast Guard, and there's captains in the other branches. None of these ranks make sense. And also, what type of general is Anakin? Because there's several generals throughout. I mean, at least in the American military, there's 4 types of generals: brigadier, major, lieutenant, then general. And I think there in other countries, there's like something, maybe like a colonel general or something like that, or some other, you know. Is he just a general? How do they differentiate, whatever that word is, between the other generals? And who takes president? If there's 6 generals in a room, is it the one who was made like a knight or a master before first? Because I don't know. The rank system kind of in Star Wars is kind of whack and don't make no sense to me. Anyway, Captain Rex basically is force tricked by Ventress to calling Anakin to reveal his location. But I don't think it worked, because as I think Anakin said in Attack of the Clones, Force tricks only work for the weak-minded. Because Rex proceeded to say, Anakin, where are you? Instead of General Skywalker, because that's... My boy Rex is very respectful about protocol. He's by the book. So this was basically him telling Anakin, hey, something's going on, something ain't right. And then, so they managed to escape at the same time. Again, this is another thing. I really like that Anakin's kind of growing. He chooses to leave the clones to fend for themselves, both trusting that they can do it and that Obi-Wan would come for him, I guess, because I think he was on his way, while he rescues Rhoda. I don't think Anakin from at the end of Attack of the Clones would do this. I think he would be, all kind of gung-ho, jump the gun, which he still is, mind you, because later on when they get to Tatooine and they decide to split up, Ahsoka takes Rhoda one way and he goes with the other. He's ambushed by Dooku. And they have a fight, They're like, I don't know at this point, maybe 10-3 match, because I think they have fought some other off-screen, a few more times off-screen, but could be wrong. While Ahsoka's attacked by Magna Guards. Upon finding this out, Anakin basically, and he finds out that the goal is to kill Rhoda and deliver Ahsoka to the Hutt, Jabba the Hutt, framing the Jedi, continue to frame the Jedi. He rushes off instead of continuing to engage Dooku, which would be the smart thing, as Dooku is the leader of the Confederacy. It would be the smart thing to do, maybe do his best to take him down, but he proceeds to abandon that and rush to Jabba's palace. Meanwhile, Ahsoka's bossing her, doing her thing, getting it done, and she manages to rescue Rhoda and bring it to Jabba the Hutt. Really like this, I love that Ahsoka is shown as capable, and I also love, Anakin's throwing out words of wisdom, teachings here and there. They're showing the groundwork of a master and apprentice relationship here. Also, we get, Padme, and she's, trying to figure out her own thing, trying to deal with the Confederacy and Dooku framing the Jedi by going to visit Jabba's Uncle Zero. Side note, every time Anakin was mentioning Padme, just horrible actress. You'd think being a politician, she'd be a better bluffer, but no. She's like giving the game away, like, oh my god, Anakin, no, Anakin, no, what? I mean, people had got to have known that they were married. Or at least in a relationship, if not married. Like, they had to have some suspicions. Because I don't know if they get any better. If that, shock tone of voice was anything to go by. I don't know if they get any better. She manages to get to Zero, and we find out that Zero was one of the ones who basically orchestrated the kidnapping. Padme calls in the cavalry, which is C-3PO and some guards, and manages to get the confession of Zero sent to Jabba. And Jabba, basically grateful that he has his son back, which Jabba is a complete and utter villain. Like, this guy deserves to go to whatever space hell there is, but at least he loves his son. At least he loves his son. So, I mean, there's that. So he gives the Republic use of his shipping lanes, I guess, his space lanes. And he wants to bring Dooku to justice, which, fair enough. Okay, fair enough. And that's how it ends. So I'm gonna be honest, I really enjoyed this arc. I feel like there was maybe some, not so much low points, I didn't particularly enjoy Padme's bit with her going with Zero, to deal with Zero, and I also don't like Zero. I don't know why, I just didn't like him. I just don't like the Hutts in general, so, there's that. I really like Anakin's characterization. He's the right amount of immature, but also mature. He's still, he's, immature, 19, 20-year-old he is. But he's also matured through his, mistakes, his time in the war, and now having a Padawan, and Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan's Obi-Wan. And Dooku is Dooku, Overall, I'm gonna rate this art turn movie about a 8 out of 10. Thanks for watching the video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.